Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to start the closing ceremony of the West Africa Rice Investment Roundtable. I would now like to invite to the podium the Vice President for Planet at the World Bank Group. Mesdames et messieurs, je voudrais inviter sur scène le vice-président chargé de la Planète Groupe de la Banque mondiale. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Wangje Chen.
Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, I'll keep my remark short because it's been a long day, but also a very productive day. And I think I'm standing between you and also a cocktail reception by after this. As we close this important roundtable, first want to thank you, all of you, for your participation and contribution and for all the effort that will bring us together for the West Africa Rice Agenda. Over the last 2 days, I think one message has come out very clearly. West Africa has the potential, the political will, and the partnership to transform this rice sector to achieve rice self-sufficiency by 2035. Our discussion highlights that what it would take to get there is the policy coordination, a predictable environment for investment, and of course, investment in suitable infrastructure that will allow domestic production and regional market to grow. We also heard a clear message from the interests of the investors across the value chain, from the private sector, company, from the financial institution. The opportunities are there from production to processing to logistics to market. But investment at scale will require bankable projects with sharing tools and business model that can grow across borders. And development financing institution and partner reinforce another point. Capital is available, but we need the environment to mobilize those capital into productive force. And one of the most important achievements of this roundtable has just been presented by a colleague in ECOWAS, is this regional investment pipeline that has been discussed. And it's grounded on national rice strategy and focus on very concrete opportunities. Today, we move from dialogue to actions. I think today there's a lot of B2B conversation or B2 government conversations, and the country investors are working directly on projects, which again was presented by our colleagues from ECOWAS. This roundtable has already generated momentum, including new partnership signals, growing interest from investors, and adaptation of the regional rice investment compacts. And this compact represents more than just a document, it's a shared commitment to move from ambition to executions. We're also today witnessing the launch under the chairmanship of the Honorable Minister of Food Security and Agriculture of Government of Ghana, the Ghana Agri-Connect Compact. This is a very powerful example of a country-led action. We focus on jobs, food security, productivity, policy reform, and private sector capital mobilization, and reflect exactly the kind of approach needed for the agenda ahead. Agriculture, when done right, is not just about food, it's about jobs, resilience, and inclusive growth. Ladies and gentlemen, the challenge is no longer about identifying what needs to be done. We know the priorities, we have the plans, we have the partnership. What is needed is execution at scale, and for all of us together with the speed and with a clear target by 2035, self-sufficiency in rice for West African country. Thank you very much for your attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, now warmly welcome the chairman of the ECOWAS Council of Ministers. Please welcome Honorable Henry Musa Baka.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, our development partners, I want to extend special thanks to the World Bank Group, the Vice President being here, the African Development Bank, and other partners who have made this very successful today. It is great pleasure for me to address you at this closing ceremony for the West Africa Investment Roundtable. as we close these 2 days of discussion, negotiations, partnership building, I believe we all understand that this roundtable has confirmed one important message, which is West Africa is ready. West Africa has a political will. West Africa has a plan to reduce dependency on importation of rice, to build competitiveness for our rice sector that will be inclusive and sustainable to drive our economies. Before I go further, please allow me, on behalf of the ECOWAS member states, including Chad and Cameroon, to express a sincere appreciation to His Excellency, the President, John Dramani Mahama, who was ably represented by the Vice President, and the people of Ghana, who have graciously hosted us here today. And I want to extend my personal appreciation to our brother, the Minister of Food and Agriculture, represented here this evening as well. Ghana has hosted us with leadership, with warmth, and clear commitment in advancing the regional rice agenda. I know my people are very happy because we ate a lot of rice. There's a lot of talk about jollof rice, all of that. We eat every kind of rice, and we were very satisfied these past 2 days. So thank you very much. I also want to thank the ECOWAS Commission and the Aero Secretariat, fellow ministers, delegates, development partners, financial institutions, private sector actors, farmer organizations, technical experts, and everybody who have participated, not only to ideas, but to the conviction that here in ECOWAS, we can grow our own rice, we can feed ourselves and build our economy. And I participated in all our roundtable discussions, and in each and every one of them, even though they were pushed, in each and every room, there were people waiting to engage. And those conversations were really, really uplifting and contributing to what will become successful. So we must all really give ourselves a round of applause for the good work that we've done over these past 2 days. The discussion over the last 2 days reinforced that the urgency of investing more, investing better, and across the entire rice value chain, from seeds, irrigation, mechanization, production, to storage, processing and logistics, trade and market access. And I should also say here that rice provides a perfect platform for economic integration. And to our partners in the room, the private sector, the DFIs, the development partners, we should think about investing in rice with a regional perspective. There were 12 basins that were identified by the working group, and investments that think of ECOWAS from that perspective is bound to help us succeed in the ways that we want, and has been identified in the compact and the declaration that we've made here. Ladies and gentlemen, rice is a food security commodity, but also, above all, it's an economic opportunity capable of creating jobs, retaining more value within our economies, and accelerating regional integration. In West Africa, as has been said and as has been demonstrated, we know what works around rice. What we now must do is to implement at scale, is to these partnerships that we have forged with the public sector, with the private sector, with the technical people, with the financing, is to put that together and implement at scale and at pace, because our people want it, because our economies can no longer remain at the risk of price volatilities for our key staples in the region. Those country pitches and investment dialogues have demonstrated that member states including Chad and Cameroon, are ready to move this agenda forward. The National Rice Investment Plans and Investment Pipeline presented during these roundtables provide a strong foundation for bankable projects, stronger partnerships, and targeted financing. We have already heard, and congratulations to all of us, that today, through the hard work that we did, 1.5 billion was committed. It's 25.6 billion over a 10-year period. If you average that, we're looking at 2.5 per year, so we're not doing too bad with our initial meeting here today. But moreover, there were 55 other commitments that were made that we must chase to make sure we hit that target. And I believe if we put all these ingredients together, the energy, the zeal we've shown, both from government, from private sector, the technical people, we can certainly reach there. These figures, the 1.4 billion, the 55 million, all those commitments will require structuring. They will require due diligence for us to bring them to financial close. And this is a plea to all of us, partners, government. These pledges can be made. It often takes quite a long time to translate them into real action on the ground. Let's think innovatively. Let's think fast. Let's think of the simplest and quickest and impactful ways to bring these to bear on the fields, in the fields for rice production in the region. So to every investor, development, financial institution, private company, and partner in this room, we've heard you, we thank you. We as government are here and we're saying we're ready. We're ready to work with you. We're ready to work across borders to deliver on these commitments that we have made. What we have created here in Accra is important. It's shared ambition, it's regional governance structure, and a financing architecture. Let us remember that success of this roundtable will not be measured only by what we've said this week or by the investment that we've mobilized. It must end up in farmers' fields. It must end up reducing import bills. It must end up creating jobs for our young people. That's why we did this, and that's why we've worked so hard. So again, on behalf of ECOWAS member states, Chad and Cameroon, I reaffirm our strong commitment to working with all stakeholders to achieve the regional rice self-sufficiency by 2035 and to make rice sector a pillar of West African agricultural transformation. We want to thank everybody, all our partners. And once again, we want to commit and thank you all for the confidence that you've placed on the region, for the people that we together working, we can deliver. And as you return to your respective countries and institutions, I wish you safe travels and every success as we work together to translate this agenda into tangible results for our farmers, our economies, and our region. Long live ECOWAS, long live regional integration, and I thank you all for your attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for Honorable Henry Musa Paka, Chairman of the ECOWAS Council of Ministers, who has brought us to the official end of our gathering. But just as Ghana warmly welcomed you, please allow Ghana to also bid you a warm, I won't like to say goodbye because we will see you soon. So on behalf of Ghana, who has hosted you, please allow me to bring to the podium the Honorable Eric Opoku, Minister of Food and Agriculture.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Your Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, distinguished development partners, representatives of our financial institutions, private sector leaders, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the close of a productive and a consequential session. What we opened yesterday as an investment conversation, we close this evening as a shared regional agenda. On behalf of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, and the people of Ghana, I want to thank each of you for the seriousness, the candor, and commitment you brought into this room. The discussions we have had today were not usual exchanges of position. They were the discussions of partners who have chosen together to confront the reality of our region's rice dependence and to act on it. Three things in particular are clearer at the close of today than they were at the beginning. First, the size of the prize is no longer in doubt. The combined regional rice import bill, running into billions of United States dollars every year, is not an inevitability. It is a policy outcome, and policy outcomes can be reversed. The pathways laid out by ECOWAS, by our development partners, and by Ghana's own analytical work all point in the same direction. Self-sufficiency is achievable within a decade, and the foreign exchange savings, jobs, and rural incomes that follow are very large. Second, the evidence base is now strong enough to act on. Today's deliberations made plain that we are no longer working from estimates and aspirations. We are working from satellite-verified maps of where rice is grown, district by district, from clear assessment of production ecologies and irrigation potential, and from a costed view of the investment required at each link of the value chain. For our financiers and investors, this changes the risk calculus. The opportunity is now legible. Third, the policy direction is settled. The producer-importer quota policy I announced yesterday is not a proposition open to negotiation. It is the framework within which Ghana's rice market will operate going forward. What remains open and what we welcome is partnership on how it is implemented. How importers, millers, aggregators, and farmer organizations come together to make it work for everyone. That conversation begins now. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Ghana is acting decisively, but Ghana is not acting alone. And Ghana cannot solve this alone. Rice self-sufficiency in West Africa will be achieved country by country, but it will only be achieved if our countries pull in the same direction. The Regional Rice Roadmap and the National Rice Investment Action Plans give us the architecture. ECOWAS, the World Bank, JICA, the African Development Bank, IFAD, and all our other partners give us the platform. The private sector commitments and partnerships are what will provide us the resources for delivering on rice self-sufficiency. If we as governments agree to put in place policy reforms that mitigate market failures, what is required now is the political will to keep faith with the commitment we make in this room. Long after the lights are turned off. To my fellow ministers, I extend my hand. Ghana is open to share what is working, learn from what is working elsewhere, and coordinate on the policy instruments. The import quotas, the tariff structures, the smuggling enforcement, that only work fully when we move together. The Ghana model is not for export as a finished product. It is offered as a contribution to a regional approach that each country can adopt to its own circumstances. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to our development partners, thank you for accompanying this work with patience and rigor. We will continue to need your technical depth, your concessional finance, and your willingness to take first risks where private capital is not yet ready to lead. Your contribution makes the rest possible. To our financiers and our private sector partners, my message is unchanged from yesterday, and now reinforced by everything we have heard here. Ghana has done the work to de-risk this sector. The maps are drawn. The policy is set. The institutional architecture is in place. What we need from you is decision. We invite you in the weeks ahead to convert today's interests into specific, named, time-bound commitments. We have established the working group to make that easy. Please use it. And my final word, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the burden of food import dependence in our region has been carried by our farmers, our women traders, our young people looking for work, and our finance ministers watching foreign exchange live for a crop we are fully able to grow. That burden is heavy, but it is also finally lifting. What we have done today is to decide together to lift it. I thank our conveners and partners, our distinguished delegates, the technical teams who prepared the substance behind today's discussions, and the staff of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and our partner institutions who have made this roundtable possible. I wish every visiting delegation safe travels home, and I look forward to welcoming you back to Ghana soon, not for another conversation, but to see the work underway. In fact, looking at your faces, I can see the vim and the vigor, the determination to leave the walls of this big hall, to move out there and translate our ideas, our discussions into tangible results. May God Almighty bless all of you and take you to your various destinations. But as you leave, deliver a fair judgment that our jollof you have enjoyed is the best. Thank you, and may God bless you all.